Hello and good morning, UCLACS. I'm Nathan Bermudez.
And I'm Daniela Gutierrez.
It is a beautiful Tuesday afternoon here in Koreatown at the RFK campus. Today we will be covering some sensitive material, so viewer discretion is advised.
In case some of you guys have forgotten, here's a small recap as of what happened in January 7, 2025. Two of LA's biggest wildfires had happened, the Pacific Palisades fire here in Pacific Palisades and the Eden fire here in Altadena.
We had all woken up to the fiery orange sky that blazed all across of LA. The air was thick and heavy due to all the Tesla batteries and ashes of homes that polluted our skies. Classes were canceled, many had left work early, and firefighters fought to take out and end the massive fires that took over what people called home.
Um,
Now, LA isn't unknown to have wildfires. It's quite common. According to statistics from fire.ca.gov, as of February 9th, 2026, there have been a total of 142 wildland fires. What makes these two special, you may ask? The social divide of each location, how Los Angeles responded to its inhabitants' houses burned, and how one race faced a tougher loss than the other. To give a little more context, let's speak about each location and its history. Pacific Palisades, Los Angeles sits just between Santa Monica's nice, vibrant community and the beautiful Malibu beaches. Home of the Pali Dolphins and the Getty Villa/Center, Pacific Palisades is one of the most affluent communities in Los Angeles. With the median household income of 190,000 and often exceeding that number, it's safe to assume that the people of Palisades are well off. Something also worth mentioning, it's a lot of the inhabitants in Palisades are predominantly white. As you will see here in this next video, it talks about the history of Pacific Palisades.
What is up? This year, LA in a minute. And though Pacific Palisades was devastated by recent fires, I want to shine a spotlight on its rich history of providing salvation and refuge. In fact, more than 90 years ago, Palisades was an early American haven for European intellectuals and artists fleeing Nazi Germany and the Holocaust. Let's get into it. Pacific Palisades was formally founded in 1922 by the Southern California Methodist Episcopal Church. It was a quiet town in the Santa Monica Mountains known for beautiful vistas of the Pacific Ocean. But in the 1930s, as Germany loomed over Europe, Pacific Palisades emerged as an unexpected sanctuary for those fleeing persecution. It was this picturesque LA neighborhood with breathtaking views that became a haven for European intellectuals, artists, and professionals seeking refuge from the horrors of the Holocaust. This influx that began in the 1930s ratcheted up with the onset of World War II as the Nazi regime's grip on power tightened and anti-Semitic policies intensified. Many of these refugees were prominent figures in their fields, writers, musicians, scientists, and philosophers who found themselves suddenly uprooted from their homes and careers in Europe. One of the most iconic symbols of this refuge was Villa Aurora, a Spanish colonial revival mansion purchased in 1943 by Leon Feuchtwanger, a renowned German Jewish novelist, and his wife Marta. The Villa quickly became a cultural epicenter for the expatriate community. Its rooms echoed with passionate discussions, music, and the exchange of ideas among some of the greatest minds of the 20th century. Regular guests included novelist Thomas Mann, playwright Bertolt Brecht, Charlie Chaplin, and numerous other luminaries of the era. Composer Arnold Schoenberg was a Palisades neighbor, and he hosted musical soirees that attracted both fellow musicians and admirers of his revolutionary techniques. Now, these refugees faced numerous challenges adapting to life in America. Language barriers, cultural differences, and the struggle to rebuild careers and livelihoods in a new country were common hurdles. Many worked tirelessly to maintain their cultural identities while also embracing aspects of American life. Their creations manifested a unique fusion of European traditions and American influences that extended far beyond the borders of Pacific Palisades. Many of these immigrants went on to make significant contributions to American arts, science, and culture. They produced many influential works and brought new perspectives to Hollywood and the American art scene. And philosopher Theodore Adorno, even though he struggled with American culture, developed critical theories that would profoundly influence social thought, right there from the Pacific Palisades. Now, prior to these fires, the legacy of the period was still visible throughout Pacific Palisades. Villa Aurora was a cultural center and an artist residence and a testament to this rich history. The story of Pacific Palisades as a refuge during this dark period of history serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of sanctuary and a testament to how community can become a nurturing ground for ideas, art, and culture. Here's hoping that it inspires the rebuild well into the 21st century. All right, LA. All right, Palisades. It's been a minute.
It's not the same case with Altadena. Located just above Pasadena and to the right of La Cañada Flint Ridge, Altadena is a predominantly working middle class neighborhood with a black history. With the median household income of 120,000 and its rich black history, Altadena has been home to some important figures like Jackie Robinson, the famous black player for the Dodgers, and Willa Beatrice Brown. In this next video here, it talks about the history of Altadena and its background.
I want to talk about Altadena, a beautiful, unincorporated community nestled in the foothills of the San Gabriel Mountains. Altadena has a special history as a home for families seeking to escape LA's early racial barriers to build thriving communities. And it's also the home of the first land return to LA's indigenous peoples. Altadena, my heart truly goes out to you and your community. Let's get into it. Altadena is an independent, unique, and charming neighborhood, and also one of the most important neighborhoods in Los Angeles for African American history and culture. An unincorporated area in Los Angeles County, Altadena long served as a refuge for black families who were able to settle in the area, one of the few LA areas exempt from redlining and restrictive housing policy. The area itself was originally inhabited by the indigenous Jajamonga tribe before Spanish settlers arrived in the late 18th century. The land that would become Altadena was part of Rancho San Pascual, a Mexican land grant established in 1834. The land subsequently changed hands a few times, but its history as Altadena proper began in 1880 when brothers John and Frederick Woodbury purchased 937 acres, naming their portion of the land the Woodbury Ranch. Around the same time, in the nearby fertile foothills, a man named Byron O. Clark owned an orchard where he sold trees and plants, and he called his nursery the Altadena Nursery. That was the inspiration for the Woodbury brothers to subdivide their land and call it Altadena. The word Alta means upper in Spanish, and Dena referenced its higher elevation compared to nearby Pasadena. Development was initially slow due to an economic downturn in the late 1880s, but with the construction of Thaddeus Lowe's mountain railway connecting Los Angeles to Altadena and the mountains beyond, Altadena became a bona fide tourist destination. The newly sprouted community immediately began to attract millionaires from the East, including Andrew McNally, the printing magnate, and George Gill Green, a patent medicine entrepreneur. The area's charms appealed to more millionaires, including newspaper moguls William Scripps and William Kellogg, and author Zane Grey, who built mansions and formed what became Millionaires Row on Mariposa near Santa Rosa Avenue. From there, Altadena was the beneficiary of the Great Migration, where many African Americans moved west to escape the Jim Crow South. Altadena's open spaces and relative affordability compared to neighboring Pasadena made it an attractive destination. And by the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, a vibrant black community had taken root, overcoming redlining and the restricting housing covenants to create a rich cultural and social network. Altadena developed a reputation as a haven for black professionals, educators, and creatives. Notable figures such as Willa Beatrice Brown, the first black woman in the United States to receive a commercial pilot's license, and artist Charles White called Altadena home, cementing its status as a mecca in Los Angeles for African Americans.
Now, at the start of the wildfires on January 7, 2025, there was chaos in both locations, with the firefighters responding as quick as possible to assess the situation. As we know, for the Palisades fire, it was started by an arsonist, Jonathan Ridnerkich, a 29-year-old man, according to an article from NPR.com. The Altadena fire, although does not have a certain cause, it has been speculated that blown-out transmissions lines set the fires off. It's important to note how the community responded to both of these fires and why their responses are very important. Now, as we mentioned before, both communities are very different, and so was the help that they received. Palisades fire was the front and center of attention in all media outlets, making the Ian fire overseen by many, with some not even aware of it. This is important due to the nature that Altadena is a predominantly black neighborhood, one where people sought to move to avoid redlining from other neighborhoods. For some, their houses were their only financial security in Altadena. That is not the same case for Palisades, where millionaires reside. Though the fire caused displacement for both communities, Altadena was severely and harshly impacted due to a form of environmental racism. Due to the nature of each communities, many people prioritized and sought to help out the neighborhood of Palisades than the neighborhood of Altadena. The racial wealth gap between Palisades and Altadena is so noticeable. Just recently, while Altadena has had its first reconstruction of inhabitants' houses last year in December, Palisades has been rebuilding and just recently reopened doors to people at the local high school and continue constructions on multiple houses in the area. The next video is about the reconstruction of the house in Altadena.
After being destroyed in the Eaton fire, the first home in Altadena has finally been rebuilt and the owner can soon move back in. KTLA's Omar Lewis is live in Altadena with the details. Omar, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. Yeah, we're here live this morning on East Loma Alta Drive, where in just a matter of hours, LA County officials will be signing that certificate of occupancy and symbolically handing the keys over to the homeowner, Ted Corner here. This is the home behind us. You can see it is fully rebuilt, and this is the first time LA County is clearing a fully rebuilt primary residence here in the unincorporated Altadena burn zone. It's a major milestone and a big symbol that neighbors here are starting to come home after the Eaton fire. Nearly 11 months after flames tore through these foothills, Ted Corner's new one-story, three-bedroom home stands where his old house once stood. Today, LA County will issue its first certificate of occupancy for a fully rebuilt primary residence in the Altadena section of the Eaton fire burn area, marking a formal green light for Corner to move back in. We spoke to a neighbor across the street whose home also burned down. He says today gives other fire survivors hope and a look at what's possible as they too start over.
We've been here, like I said, for 40 years, and to see this house going up, there's another one right down the street here that's going up. That's progress. The same company that's doing his rebuilding his home is going to rebuild ours.
Elliot Bailey is living in an RV on his lot across the street and says he's also in the process of rebuilding his home of 40 years. He's hoping to get through the permitting process in the near future. And this isn't the first family anywhere in the Eaton fire burn zone to cross the finish line. In Pasadena, home designer June Lee Lejeune and her husband Robert just finished rebuilding their house. They celebrated with a community housewarming last week as the 1-year anniversary of the Eaton wildfire quickly approaches. Residents here tell me it comes with mixed emotions as they try to keep their eyes on the future now.
We had been here so many years and everything was destroyed. So if I dwell on it, I think on it, it brings up a lot of bad feelings. So I try not to think about it, but I do understand the fact that you have to go through that in order to get to wherever we're going. Where we want to be is whatever's next.
While many have started to complain about the noticeable white privilege that seems to show a lot throughout the process of rebuilding many people's home in Palisades, and the way they handle alerting people who live in Altadena to evacuate from their homes, recently there has been a civil rights investigation that was launched this month by a California Attorney General Rob Bonta. The main purpose about this investigation is to determine whether it was race, disability, or age discrimination that was the reason for the response many residents in Altadena had gotten during the fire. These are some images of people protesting about the fires. For example, a report from Los Angeles Times had found that many residents from West Altadena had received late evacuation alerts. Not to mention, 18 out of 19 people who died in the fires happened to live in West Altadena. According to a fire survivor group, they had stated that nearly half of all Black households in Altadena were lost and that the fires destroyed more than 6,000 structures. In one of Bonta's statements, it stated that McChrystal's group After Action report had confirmed that West Altadena did not receive any kind of emergency evacuation orders until at least 9 hours after the Eden fire, while many residents from Palisades got an eviction notice within 30 minutes, proving to us that what community groups say are true. For example, in one report, a community group had stated that wealthier, whiter neighborhoods often receive faster and more robust emergency responses, which seems to be in fact true. In another Los Angeles Times article, they had stated that Times investigation found that West Altadena received limited firefighting resources as the fire reached out of control, which leads to more fire damage being widespread in West Altadena. After the fire had calmed down, there was a 54-year-old who was pronounced dead. Later on, her family who claimed she passed due to the delayed evacuation alerts. There has been many protests by Black Altadena residents demanding answers about the failed evacuation alerts due to it always seeming like they prioritize people with higher income as well as their race.
These all connect to white supremacy due to all the harder tragedies Altadena have faced because of the limited access they had with receiving help from firefighters. Since wealth seems to be very important when it comes to saving what's important, people or wealth. What are your thoughts about the fires?
Honestly, I think the fires are really sad, and a lot of people's homes were destroyed that day, and now they have to find new ones, or they'll never get those memories back. And as well, this happened to Altadena as well. But because of their wealth gap between the communities, it's gonna affect Altadena even more because they don't have the cost or things to rebuild on their own, and new neighborhoods have to be rebuilt in general, which costs a lot.
Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in to another episode of The Blue and Gold. We appreciate it very much. Till next time, have a good day.